What's up, everyone? Jason here. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about former SoFi Bank president Chad Borton. He was originally hired back at the end of 2021 to take over SoFi Bank for Anthony Noto. And then back in March, he announced his resignation. Before he was hired back in 2021, he was retired for I think a little bit over a year. He was done with the whole banking industry, but Anthony Noto was able to convince him to come back to be the president of SoFi Bank. They gave him a ton of shares. And then only a few years later, he resigned from his position in March and then proceeded to sell shares. All right, let's check it out. Real quick, SoFi fam, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do a lot more SoFi and Palantir stuff this week, so make sure you subscribe so you can get all my updates. All right, let's get into it. Unfortunately, today, some news broke. Chad Borton was just hired by Equifax as the Executive Vice President and President of Workforce Solutions. One of their main guys there retired. It says under Borton's leadership, SoFi Bank grew to more than $26 billion in assets and $21 billion in deposits. Prior to SoFi, Chad served as the president of USAA Bank. He also held executive leadership positions at Fifth Third Bank and JP Morgan Chase and served financial service clients during his tenure at McKinsey. It's not a good look for SoFi, man. And it's really not a good look for Anthony Noto. You hired this guy, Chad Borton, to come in and be your president of SoFi Bank. You give him all these shares, and you allow them to vest in a very short manner. If you look, he sold shares back in June of 2023. So this seems to have been in the works for a little while. He sold 42,000 shares. And then again, in November, he sold 150,000 shares. So over 190,000 shares, over $1.5 million worth of shares. So this guy was getting a salary. He got, almost $2 million worth of shares, and he leaves. So he's flooding the market with these shares. And then your president of SoFi Bank is gone. So unfortunately, when you allow these guys to have all their shares vested in a short amount of time, it doesn't incentivize them to stay in your company. You need it to be like 4, 5, 8 years or tiered. After 4 years, you get a chunk. After 6 years, you get another chunk. After 8 years, maybe you get another chunk. So this incentivizes them to grow the business. It incentivizes them to actually make SoFi a better business. He got hired pretty much in 2022, right? Because of the holidays. He didn't really start work until 2022. And then in 2024, in the beginning of 2024, he's like, guys, I'm resigning to explore other opportunities. Personally, I think it was a mistake for Anthony Noto to allow Chad Borton's shares to vest so quickly. That's probably what enticed him out of retirement. But from a broad perspective of your business, you got to know that these guys are going to take the money and run. And that's exactly what he did. He sold his shares in November. He sold his shares in June. It says right here on Investor Place, SoFi Bank President Chad Borton disclosed selling 152,000 plus shares at an average price of around $8. That was a $1.2 million sale. And then he also sold around 40,000 shares a few months before. It says, while Borton still owns 157,000 shares of SoFi, like Webster, Borton's sale accounted for a large portion of his prior stake. So he sold a lot of his shares over the summer, almost 200,000 shares of SoFi. So if you're giving this guy all these shares, it hasn't been disclosed yet if he got rid of the rest of his shares. But to me, in my opinion, it's just not a good look. Hopefully, when Anthony Noto hires more people, he gives them less shares, in my opinion. I'd rather them have a higher salary and less shares than to get a bunch of shares, only be with the company for 3 or 4 years, peace out, and then sell all their shares. I don't want that to happen. And I hope next time it's more tiered. Maybe after 4 years, you get 25%. After 5 years, you get 35%. After 6 years, you get 50%. Some sort of tier system to incentivize these executives to stay with SoFi for a longer period of time. This guy pretty much worked 2 years from 2022 to the beginning of 2024, man. Not a long time at the company to give up all these shares of SoFi for him to just dump them on the open market. Let me know in the comments below, are you concerned about Chad Borton taking another position at another company? I initially thought he might go back into retirement, but I was 100% wrong there. And he took this job. It doesn't disclose how much money he made at Equifax, but I'm assuming it's a ton. If he's leaving SoFi, he got all his shares vested, so to him, he's like, well, I'm just going to go to this other company, parlay the success in SoFi into another gig where I can get more shares of another company and a huge fat salary. I think Anthony Noto dropped the ball a little bit here, and hopefully he'll learn from this when he hires people moving forward. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next video. Peace.